Welcome, everyone. Hi, Harry. How are you?
I'm doing all right. How are you, Neil?
Good, good. Sorry, you missed a couple of episodes. I know we are all sort of busy, and this summer is kind of getting crazy, isn't it?
Yep. And I don't think we can say less about what has moved on in that little time and the number of things that have
totally,
happened. I think today we had
totally,
to
oh
pick and
man.
choose the topics
It's,
that we wanted to talk about,
it's
and we are
crazy,
definitely
crazy.
behind.
Yeah, yeah. So we got lots of interesting stuff to talk about. Obviously, good news of not doing a couple of episodes is that we can catch up on few interesting things, which is obviously big two events. Google had their own I/O event, and Microsoft Build. They made tons of product announcements. We're just going to walk through and explore what kind of products, if we look them interesting, and provide some verdict. Obviously, some of this product is not in the market here, so we have to take it to the grain of salt a little bit what they're promising and what they're going to deliver. But so let's dive in. The first thing I just want to talk about is obviously, let me see if I can share my screen here, is the Google I/O. I must say I am very impressed. I remember back in days in this podcast, I complained about Google not being sort of, what is Google doing, right? We only talked about OpenAI, Anthropic, and I feel like it's a big ship, right? They're finally turning it around. So lots of interesting stuff happening. So I hope you can see my screen. We're just going to walk through and sort of chat about some of the major announcements they made a couple of weeks back. The first one was this Gemini Omni. Obviously, there are lots of model announcement. This one I thought particularly was very interesting. Um, this is again multimodal. I think they're finally sort of taking all this nano bananas and other products they have delivered, sort of combining into one thing. What I liked about this is that this is sort of an multi-input, so we can drop in videos, audio, text, obviously, and it has this capability to sort of dynamically generate videos or edit videos. So, for an example, if you ask a question about uh, how Hermes agent works, or how should I build an AI agent, and it should be able to sort of dynamically create it. This is a good example of that. I mean, in the background, the speaker is talking about the physics engine of this, but a lot of this is very interesting. What I found more interesting is almost feels like very excited about being, hey, I can be a YouTube creator, is they're integrating this model with YouTube Studio. So what that means is that I think they're calling it Remix or something. So this is a good example of how it's asked about protein folding, and the model actually, this is generated this video on the fly to explain how it works. And it's sort of not just plain two dimensional. The videos and images it can create, it kind of feel like very three dimensional, 3D. Yeah, going back to the YouTube one, I thought I found interesting is that they have this remix concept. That means you can drop in any video and ask it to edit. So for an example, you can replace a character with your image, and this is a good example of that. So it's a real time kind of changing the world. It was almost like Matrix movie, man. So I thought this was very
Wow.
cool. Yeah.
I'm just curious, like, what the monetization as angles of the creator economy will change, like, for
Yeah.
people creating like raw footage versus
Yeah.
like, using AI. Again,
Yeah.
both of which, like, they are set to, Google is set to obviously,
Yeah.
they get set to gain, right? But then I don't
Yeah.
know how that changes the monetization model. Like, do
Yeah.
you
For for
reward
the for
people who
the
use
for
this?
the influencers, you mean?
Yeah, I mean, like if I use a lot of this technology, for example, that
Yeah.
protein folding you spoke about, like if I'm an
Mm.
educator and I use this aid to
Yeah.
use that as a teaching aid,
Yeah.
does my video, I mean, of course, the effort that I put in versus someone who actually draws and explains, the effort is
Yeah.
different. So I don't know
Yeah.
if that has any bearing in terms of creator economy. That
Yeah.
that we gotta see. Like
Yeah.
I'm not a
Yeah.
very big YouTuber or
Yeah.
anything, so but I don't know.
Yeah.
But I'm just curious to
I
know.
thought back in days they were YouTube was very against about AI slop. They were taking those videos down. I get the stance have changed. I mean, I can clearly see influencers sort of, or any creator creating a video, and then sort of using remix to create sort of multiple variants of this and posting. I mean, YouTube Shorts is all about just is there is lots of value in providing lots of content out there, because you never know which one gonna go viral. So I thought that I think in terms of like, how Google is monetizing it, I have no idea about how these plans work or the price structure, but they're rolling out this Google AI Plus, Pro, and Ultra sort of subscription plan and putting everything, almost all the announcement in this page is under this sort of pricing plan. So I'm assuming this is very different than you having a G Suite a subscription or something. It's just completely different. So next one is the Gemini 3.5 family. The Gemini Flash, they're creating a new Flash version. Flash is supposed to be the one that's sort of faster, right? They're just a trade-off between high thinking versus sort of token cost, right? I mean, faster response. Informational agent in search. Obviously, Google means search. One of the things that I found sort of
So you're really in the
interesting now
finance.
is they're sort of creating search being, if you can take an example of a stateless, right? You put a query and get a response back. It's almost sort of going into the world of stateful search engine, where you can put your query, it's just going to go back and do some research. It's the long running agents essentially, but search agents that has access to Google search data, obviously, and producing results and reports for you. I mean,
That's interesting because
I don't know. I mean, do you use the AI mode in Google search at all? Or do you even go to Google
I'm pretty
search anymore?
much automatically on it, like these days, because usually maybe it's just my me being lazy because my first query is never that great, and I kind of fine tune towards what I want,
Yeah.
and like I'm trying to sort of throw a ball in a rough direction and then figure out where it goes, sort of, right?
Right, right,
That
right,
is
right.
what's happening. And I also hear that generally commerce, which was primarily driven from SEO through search, has
Yeah.
now shifted quite a bit in terms of people directly using GPT to
Yes.
search. So,
Yeah.
and agentic commerce is becoming a big thing. So, I don't know if that's related, but having
Right.
search, which is AI assisted agent assisted,
Right.
which makes like probably way for agentic commerce. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking those two are connected because that's a big
Yeah.
deal because ultimately search has to lead to some purchases.
Right. Right. I mean, Google is all about ad revenue from there, right? So yeah, so it does. I mean, I think AI mode does produce sponsor results, and I don't know how they're different than. I think GPT uses Bing behind the scene, isn't it, for search?
Hmm.
So continuing with
So
that flow,
search now has
they've
the
added stuff like now you can turn into each of the search or into sort of mini apps. The interesting thing from sort of technical perspective here is that I believe, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Antigravity has an option now to have long-running agents run in the cloud. So you can start a task and say run it in the cloud, and it just goes off, spawns up a compute for you in GCP and runs this agent. When I was exploring some of the search agent and search capability, obviously there's some processing going on behind the scene. They all sort of use underneath Antigravity's that sort of ecosystem.
Okay.
So it's interesting, even though from outside it feels like Google is doing all these things, random stuff. I think they're getting into the mode where they're sort of combining and creating sort of an AI stack for everything. So it's all sort of coming together. When I see these things, man, and the most cliche example of this is that create a weekend vacation or trip plan for me. I mean, I guess for some this is a really good use case, but I still feel like, why I don't know when I'm going to use this.
Now, I
It's
think
always
the whole
been a struggle
ecosystem
for
sort
me.
of changing now, right? I mean,
Yeah,
I could be new to this, but maps, if you've seen Google Maps,
yeah,
Um, earlier, you had to put waypoints manually, figure out where you had to stop and whatnot. And
yeah,
especially now, if you're planning a route, you just have to chat with it and it's going to modify your journey, right? And
yeah.
I think there is an agentic aspect to it. And from what you're saying, I
Oh,
haven't
yeah,
used the anti-gravity aspect to it, but if you think about it, if there is agent going on, and if you want to do your research on three or four websites and like gather
Yeah.
information, bring it all together,
Right.
and
Right.
then put that kind of, how do you put it, knowledge work
Yeah.
um, in a slightly more agentic environment in comparison to, let's say, a pure Gemini usage,
Yeah.
something in the borderline of like a Cloud Cowork or a
Yeah.
Codex desktop. That
Right.
kind of places where anti-gravity is going is my inkling, but I haven't used
Right.
it for that purpose myself.
Right. Right. No, I do see it. I mean, I do see some of this as going back to all of this sort of feels like baking in AI agents in multiple features, right? A daily brief to me too feels like this is their open claw alternative. Okay,
Hmm.
your personalized AI agent, it can do briefs for you. So I mean, whatever morning ritual you have, give me top three news, what's my calendar looks like, plan my day. All this could be sort of done by agents, and anti-gravity is sort of the power behind all of this. Um, So yeah, I
Agents
mean
don't
they're
just
they're
answer questions.
sort of combining all of this stuff in here. Um,
But I
uh,
think the anti-gravity I remember is kind of different, right? Like, it could be just me, because the first introduction for me of anti-gravity was a Visual Studio Code fork,
yeah,
which had this kind of plan mode on steroids, is how I thought of it.
correct,
Because it was
correct.
really, really nice from an interface point of view, because you could chat with the agent and say, like, I want to build certain such and such thing, and it would come up with a plan. But unlike, like, let's say a Claude Codes plan or a Codex plan, where it's bunch of text and you need to tell, again, chat with it to
Yeah,
say, hey, go
yeah,
modify this section of the plan, versus anti-gravity had this select on that, and right there have a small chat window, and you could say like update this part of the plan, fix this, fix this, fix this. So I really like that plan part of anti-gravity, and I
yeah,
just now like was trying out the anti-gravity CLI for
yeah,
anti-gravity 2.
mhm,
And that is very much pretty like Claude Code or a Codex or an open code, and it
mhm,
comes with its own models, like its
yeah,
own GPT open source version, its own Claudes on it, and whatnot. And of course, Gemini Flash, right? Like, which is its flagship model for getting work
right,
done. So you have
right,
reasoning model, you can switch everything, and everything is hosted by Google.
right.
Obviously, the big question there is, as a coding agent, anti-gravity and its models,
Mhm.
how economical is it, and how much performance does it give for that? That is yet to
Yeah,
be seen. I just started using
yeah,
it, so I
yeah,
think over the week or two we'll come to know. And
yeah.
yeah,
I would love
that's
to
that's a
hear. I would
good.
love to hear your
It's a
feedback.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
because
just
it's
to
right on
clarify,
top.
I think I understand where you come from. That's what I got confused too. So I think the way they're branding it right now, they're calling. I'm looking at my notes here. They're calling anti-gravity ecosystem. What this
Hmm.
ecosystem has now is this desktop app, which I was telling you before we went live, is this most super confusing app I downloaded, which literally felt like a chat GPT to me. And I was not sure what I'm going to do with that. Anyway, so that's one standalone desktop app. Then they have an anti-gravity CLI, which you're talking about right now. Then they have the anti-gravity SDK, which also you mentioned something programmable interface on top of that, right? So I believe this daily brief and personalized agents and search agents, all this are sort of using their SDK to build this
Mm-hmm.
specialized agents. Now, where it runs is they are also kind of this agent runtime and platform. They're also calling it anti-gravity in Gemini. So all these agents that you create and run, including daily brief that we just saw, all these are essentially running in their anti-gravity Gemini agent platform. So that's also part of the anti-gravity ecosystem. And
Yeah,
I'm
what I
looking
read is they have a fork and run capability now, which is kind
at,
of a way to address the speed of execution.
Mhm.
That's something that I've always not so sure about, like, because things are fast and I don't know where are we lagging in terms of speed, but then
Say
you
that
are
one.
right,
Say that.
possibly, which is
Explain that for our audience. What is that?
so in anti-gravity, I think the SDK or CLI and any of these, the other places where we using anti-gravity, big part of the selling is essentially to say I can have a long running job pushed to the background. Now, again, I'm not entirely sure, like, okay, it's running in my local, like the agent is taking care of that, or versus like what you said, it could be an on the cloud sandbox inside which the job could be running for a longer tenure.
Yeah.
I think what they're trying to talk about is a agent system or an agent stack which can support multi-agents, sub-agents, backgrounding, stuff
Mm,
like that, so that you can get a lot of work done
mm,
in a short span of time, which essentially is the most marketable
mm.
capability because sub-agents and agent teams
Yeah.
are a big deal for Cloud Code. And I think having
Yeah.
Antigravity also be able to do that, it'd be
Yeah.
pretty awesome if it can do all of that. And again, I've just
Right.
started using it. I recollected
Yes.
that when you mentioned about the
Right.
ability to like spawn off these things.
Yeah. I saw.
And
I was looking at their code. I mean, there is a way to sort of using the anti-gravity SDK. You can just set a parameter saying, "Hey, create this agent, and by the way, run remotely."
mhm.
So I'm assuming it ships your code there, spawns a Docker instance, or what have you, and so sort of runs in an isolated environment. For long-running agents, this probably makes sense, and they're probably using the same infrastructure for all this other cool stuff. This was very cool, man. The universal card. So again, this is going back to their Google is
I am
integrating
excited to
everything.
announce the
This feels like you're not going to have a cart sort of capability on every app you're on a Google
Mhm.
ecosystem from Gmail to, and you can continue to add stuff. And they have built a smart intelligence. So this in this presentation, the speaker was talking about, hey, you want to build your. I thought that was a dumb example. You want to build your own computer. I mean, I don't know who does that these days. But then the model is smart. So you're shopping for motherboard, you're shopping for memory, CPU, what have you, and then this cart is sort of smart in the sense that it can analyze all the contents of your cart and flag if there is any mismatch between them. So here, for an example, it will sort of you find it. It's going to obviously do other stuff like look out for what's cheaper and buy that. So here is it's showing you, hey, there is a mismatch between your motherboard and CPU, which I thought was pretty cool. Not to mention, when you add stuff to the cart, it will keep doing searches to find the cheapest deal for you. Google is in the best position to do this.
Of course. And
Yeah,
you
yeah.
got
This is
commerce, and if
crazy.
you think about it, I mean, think about booking a flight on this.
Hmm.
You probably make sure that you're connecting flights. I mean, that's the most easy thing to do, right? Which is make sure
Totally,
you have enough. Yeah.
totally. So yeah, I thought it was really cool. New sort of UX experiences, which I don't know whether they will standardize this. If they do, that will be awesome because I mean
we've
this is
added
a
few
real challenge in building AI native applications, right? On the fly, how can you
Mm-hmm.
generate rich response sets, which could be images, could be video. So they created this what they're calling neural expressive sort of language, and all their products are sort of
Mm-hmm.
using it. Gemini Spark, which is sort of the big. This is what I sort of installed the Gemini app. So they have a Mac OS app now, which sort of your open claw running 24/7 on your computer and can do some interesting stuff. It is context
Mm-hmm.
aware. That means it can read stuff from your apps, physical apps. So you can open a
Mm-hmm.
Finder and say, there are a bunch of files in my Finder,
and what you can see
analyze them, create a summary, and while your Gmail is open, paste that summary on the Gmail. So it can sort of do all that magic. Gemini app for OS, we talked about. Why not, right? Everybody's doing a hardware. So this is Google's competitor for Meta glasses, essentially. They
Mm-hmm.
are planning. Are you going to get Meta? Do you have Meta Glass, or do you have any interest in getting Meta glasses at all?
Not right now. I think I'm probably just gonna wait for something that's more integrated with the ecosystem. Like
Mm,
I'm kind of bought into the Apple ecosystem right now. As
mm.
long as something is better integrated, that's all I'm looking for. But there's two aspects to it, right? The cost, the price point for
Yeah,
this.
Yeah.
and then the other one, like, so either you are like, an adventure sports enthusiast and you got one of those Oakley sunglasses,
Yeah.
which do your sports and adventure sort of stuff, which there it
Yeah.
justifies the cost. But
Yeah.
having just a meta glass which has a camera on it, and that kind of spooks people also, like that situation is still like,
Yeah.
very. I'm not so sure yet. I just want
Here is this
something.
getting popular. I mean, I want to get it,
Yeah,
but maybe the next upgrade, I'm sure. Version 1 always has issues, right? But
yeah.
yeah, so
I'm not
they're
interested in the
getting into
camera.
that.
I think that's the worst feature. Like I think it's just my personal choice, which is I'm interested in everything in the glass other than the camera, which is if I can see a
Yeah.
heads-up display is probably the most important. Like
Yeah.
an augmented
Right.
reality is what I'm looking
Right.
for.
Right. Right. Yeah. Speaking of augmented reality, I don't know, random concept. So Wikipedia has an app. So somebody told me the Wikipedia app is sort of location aware. So if you download that app, it will actually tell you all the interesting things near you, which I thought was a fascinating integration. So in my area, I can find out, well, what's the history about this building? What's going on here? So the context aware gives you, unlocks that sort of interesting opportunity. This is a very, very interesting initiative. I don't know whether you heard about the Synth ID. So, I mean, you sort of mentioned this, right? So, all this AI generating content, how we know what's real and what's not. So I'm happy that Google is sort of taking this seriously and sort of integrating in all their product. So they're expanding content credentials, so you can drop in any image, video, and say, is this AI generated? And this product, I don't know why it's refreshing. This product will essentially tell you whether is it or not. And I think if they're getting support from OpenAI, I'm not sure whether Anthropic is part of this, but OpenAI said they're going to support this, so that's pretty cool.
I
Especially
think
in
this is
loss
kind of
ratio.
gonna address
Yeah,
the general concern around
right.
like how do you authenticate anything, right? Like, if
Yeah.
for a
So it
student or
yeah,
any news that comes
totally,
on,
man.
and you don't want to be like misled that hey, today the airport is shut down. Someone just could just say that, and you just
Yeah,
cancel all your travel. Like instead, you just want to verify. But I don't
yeah,
know how well this is going to be integrated. Like for example, the synth is something that let's say a news stream would take care of. Already use
yeah,
it and make sure that only authenticated sources come through. Gotta
yeah,
see, but definitely something that's worth having. It's been two
yeah,
years since
yeah.
synth by the way. It's not new.
Oh, I
So.
actually didn't. I heard about this before, but I was not paying attention to it. But I think it's getting serious. It's going back to how many vendors, I guess, model providers adopt this, right? And I don't know, maybe Chinese models will not do this then, but it will be part of the. But I like how, I don't know whether you saw that in the video. I liked how it's every images that or the content produced by AI sort of have a lineage now, sort of history. So it can tell you not only whether it's AI generated, it actually can tell you which product generated this. I
Wow,
mean, at least
okay.
somebody's taking initiative. So I feel like that's pretty cool. That's sort of
Nice.
the announcements from Google. Your any comments, thoughts on this?
Not really. I think I'm right now I'm more focused on the models that are coming out and the
Yeah.
cost of which is probably what's most important for me. Again, we'll discuss that later when we come to that topic. But otherwise,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
this.
Yeah, yeah. I think yeah, I think Google is back, dude. I mean, I feel that I know there was lots of hype going on about
Right.
OpenAI and Anthropic's doing IPO, and SpaceX announced it last week. Because Google is out there. It's going to be they have
Yep.
all the data and processes and distribution they need to be number one in this field. So switching back to from Google to Oh, there are a couple of other things. Sorry. We should talk about this is good stuff in here. Out of all of this, there was some interesting updates from purely on the dev side. So obviously they
Mm-hmm.
did where is my MCP one? They obviously did the web MCP, right? This is up out there. Well, what's your? I mean, I feel like web MCP is a great for AI agents to sort of interact with web pages, right? But it's all gonna. And I see lots of good names in the list here. The companies that are willing to sort of participate. But I would still see lots of companies not adapting this because they will not like their data to be shared with AI agents, right?
Right. By the way, if you're sharing another screen, your screen is still on the
Okay.
the
Oh, sorry.
keynote.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you. Yeah, no, I was sharing. Thanks for telling me. Yeah. So WebMCP is sort of fully out and is supported in Chrome. I think experimental trial starts with Chrome 149 version. I don't know which version I'm on. Let me quickly check. I'm on 145, so I don't have it. But yeah, so I was reading about this, though. It's this pretty neat idea. Obviously, if you just want to enable your web pages to be consumed by AI agent, you just have to use sort of meta tags for meta attributes on your
Mm-hmm.
property. So if you have a form, you just add web MCP tags, and suddenly the browser going to so essentially build a tool behind this, which agents can invoke that tool to get data.
Rather than depending on directly scraping the screen content. And I
Yeah,
think that goes in line with the Chrome DevTools also, which they have launched
yeah,
recently. So,
right. I am very happy with this modern web guidance. They also released sort of a blueprint guide for coding agents to build. And I think this is real. I mean, based on all the security issues and all the supply chain issues that we've been getting lately, the reason, just for the audience, the reason why this is important is that most of these models that we use are trained on old data. And believe it or not, there are lots of advancements happening in programming in terms of how to build web apps, modern web apps, right? The standards have changed. Lots of things have been fixed, but some of those models are trained on old data, doesn't know how to use this new stuff. So all the code that they are producing still uses old structure components, which are probably not an idea of not a good thing to use in modern web app. So what this skill is the right way to say it. I think it's a skill. Built with modern web guidance is essentially a skill for your AI coding agents that I've already installed from my Claude. This sort of going to help Claude now to use new standards that are provided by HTML5 or whatever. So your applications is more modern. That's sort of the summary of
that's
all
pretty
the
much that.
things.
Yeah, I think the
Yeah.
DevTools go along with what you mentioned, and the browser capability. The browser use is
So do you
probably
use
better
the
off.
Chrome Dev tool with your coding agent?
I've just started. Like I think
Do
I
you use
had
the
my
Chrome Dev tool? Okay.
yeah. So the agent access into the Chrome, like usually I think I've kind of graduated from the old school days of using Playwright MCP. Then I
Mhm.
started using Playwright CLI. Then eventually, like, I can give it Lighthouse access and stuff like that. So basically, it can figure out what's wrong in the load
Mhm.
times and whatnot and adjust it. It had console access, technically speaking, but then now your agent has more native access through the browser, through the Chrome Dev Agent tools. That's how they call
Mhm.
it. So
Mhm.
I am yet to like fully put this to use, but yeah, I
Mhm.
think it's a really important thing. Like if you're building any application and you want this to debug through what's happening on the browser, obviously you need that. But of course, like even for automation, like simple task automation, like go to 10 websites, do this thing, and come back to me.
Mhm. Mhm.
That's
Mhm.
also going to be like pretty much driven off of this.
Yeah. So there you have it. All the cool stuff came out of Google I/O. Let's switch to Microsoft Build now.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of product announcements. Just gonna quickly go through the things that I found interesting. New capability API release. This one is interesting. I think fundamentally this shows a drive towards sort of local models.
Mm-hmm.
So Microsoft is partnering with NVIDIA. They are releasing what they call is a Surface RTX Spark Dev Box. The stats on this laptop is sort of off the charts. It's going to be powered by RTX Spark. That's why it's called that. With the same silicon feature Surface laptop, 1 petaflops of AI compute. I actually don't know what that means. I'm assuming a lot of compute alongside with 128 gig of ununified memory capable of up to run 120 billion parameter model. 120 billion parameter probably includes top of the line open source model, correct?
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, the anti-gravity which comes with the OSS model of GPT,
Yeah.
the OSS model
Yeah.
GPT which comes there is a 120 billion. So technically speaking, you could have your own. But yeah, I think the jury's out. You probably gotta try it out to see if it actually is
Yeah.
possible to have another
No, so
model.
I mean, so this is what, and I think I don't know. I'd like to hear your thoughts on this. I feel like frontier models, compared to frontier models, Chinese models are probably 3 months behind. I mean, I think they're catching up really, really fast. Would you say open source models are like 12 months or 6 months behind?
I I don't really know how to quantify what's happening with in terms of the months and timeline. What I
Mhm.
can quantify is essentially uh, their ability to stay on track, right? A frontier model
Mhm.
is able to stay on track and it's able to, even if it's making assumptions, it's making in line with what's your conversation focus versus an
Mhm.
open source model is still not there. And if you want to equate that to a timeline, I remember pre-Sonnet days, how
Yeah.
the models were, right? Some of the open
Mhm.
source models are, to the large extent, are like pre-Sonnet, and some of them are like Sonnet days. And
Yeah.
then comes like the GPT 5.5, which is the current standard, which I feel is of a good frontier model. So
Right.
yeah, maybe 3 to 6 months in
Yeah.
terms of being able to stay focused on what's the task at hand.
Right. Right. I mean, I think so. Maybe 12 months. I mean, I think open source models are really, really getting better. They just be behind. They will catch up. I mean, I don't have. There is no reason to believe why they will not be able to get where Opus is or Sonnet was. By the way, we talked about this. The performance of the Opus 4.7 and 4.8 is degrading. I'll be honest with you, they are not performing very well. I'm in the market to look for other alternate models. But what the reason I like this is I love to have this product. I mean, I like to have this, not to mention having model running locally. Going back to, we'll talk about cost a lot. This addresses the first big issue lots of companies are facing right now. Imagine giving this to all the devs running locally, and having 90% of the workload done locally, and maybe 10% of high research, high thinking, sort of difficult tasks could be offloaded to frontier model. Suddenly, you're looking at 90% of cost reduction. I mean, I feel like this is a good development, more local, so that we don't depend on this couple of model providers. So I'll be in the market to buy this laptop. For I don't
No,
know
I
what
think
the
this
cost is
is
going to look like. Yeah,
yeah, but I'm kind of like even okay with the upfront cost that comes with this, right? But what
yeah,
I'm a little skeptical or just thinking
yeah,
about, maybe it's just my ignorance,
yeah.
is
Yes,
that
sure,
what's
sure.
the ongoing maintenance on this? Like, for example, how do I keep up its training? Like when I'm getting a model off the cloud, the model's
Yeah,
being trained on a regular basis, the data is being updated, the release is being handled, stuff like that, right? Here, someone has to keep this thing up, right? Then there's the
yeah,
energy cost of it. Someone has to
yeah,
maintain it. Someone has to
yeah,
patch it and update it. There is the OS upgrades for this particular machine which is sitting there.
yeah, yeah.
Like, and I don't know, having one per desk, sure. Like if there's someone who's able to sort of handle this machinery, which is local, and
Yeah,
be able to maintain that, well and
yeah,
good. But I don't
yeah.
know whether that model will be the most up to date. But the model could be maybe trained on very on-prem information which cannot go outside. It could be
No,
specialized
I
for
think
that
you can
purpose.
drop
I
in any
don't know.
models
Like,
you want, though. It's not necessarily coming with the model.
mhm.
What is coming with whatever the other infrastructure you need to run a 120 billion parameter model.
That's right.
Whatever
That's
you
right.
need,
But
that
then the weight of putting a model on it is on us. And that's
Yeah,
what I'm wondering,
that's right.
like, what is the
That's right.
training data? And like,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
sure like there's information. I'm not even worried about like, what's the baseline you're getting.
yeah,
But
yeah, yeah,
any model you put onto that,
yeah.
like the
Yeah. I mean,
how
this
good
is
a model
classic.
is
This is
how up
classic.
to date
This
it
is
is.
classic running. Yeah, this is a classic running on-prem versus cloud, right? I mean, this
Exactly.
is an on-prem example. That means you have to take care of all those things, issues. I I I mean, we both agree. I mean, it's good to have that option because right now we don't.
Yep.
That's what's. I mean, quote unquote, some companies are abusing this. Um, so yeah, so going back, lots of developer there. Everybody's focusing on AI stack now, and I know coming to that infrastructure update, they are doing lots of stuff with infrastructure, open AI, making sure their Azure is up to date. We just talked about this, NVIDIA, Microsoft sort of joining. We talked about RTX stack. They're sort of working together to build this. All right, so this got lots of buzz apparently in social media. The project Solara, a new platform for agents. So this we are getting into the world now. We are thinking of what an operating system going to look like for AI agent, not for users, not for end users, but for AI agent. So Project Solara is sort of that. They're creating a new version of quote unquote Windows operating system purely designed for running AI agents, just AI agents, nothing else. What I fail to understand or struggle in this is I'm not a big fan of creating custom hardwares like this. And this video sort of talks about the so they are now building this operating system for various form factors and hardware form factors. It doesn't have to be just computer. And one of the reasons for doing this is that you don't have to keep your computer open and your agents can still run. But I always wonder, I already have a phone. Why should I need a one more digital device? But I guess they have a different plan about this. So anyway, in this video, they talk about how their OS is running on essentially, I thought this was cool, running on sort of an access card. Your access card is now sort of an AI agent that you can talk to.
Mm-hmm.
So that's their sort of new computer for AI agent.
Wow.
GPUs, yeah. I don't know, man. And I feel like I have iPads, I have lots of other gadgets, but they're just collecting dust. I never use them. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, if there is a unified way of not being able to carry anything at all, that's good enough for me. Like I think
Yeah,
I've gotten used to like uh, I don't know if you saw that interview of how the cloud code engineers use their agents, and most of it was through phone. They have
yeah,
their desktop handoff
yeah,
already running, and
yeah.
mostly they're coding from their phones, right? Like, and
Right,
if that's possible, like if I could just send off commands and like, and that's more of my majority
right.
work through the day. And
Mhm.
if the form factor can deliver more information than that needs to be handled, then I don't really need to worry about much. Like if I could talk to my phone and like or something that I can
Yes.
carry, that's all
Yeah,
I
yeah, I
need. Like,
agree. I agree. I mean, all I need is one. I mean, that's what's my worry with meta glasses too, or any other gadgets. I mean, where bracelets and all the pins and all that other crap coming out, I feel like they have to compete for attention because phone almost does all of that for me already. But anyway, they have different ideas. Obviously, they did some market. They're way smarter than I am, but that's what they're doing. So let's go back to. Sorry, I didn't even share this slides. I was playing the video. They were showing this video in here. Now you can see this now,
hmm.
right? Yeah.
Yep.
Sorry, I thought I was. Yeah, he's in this. What he's doing is that he's saying, "Hey, my smart card, take a video of all this room and create a social media post." And I was thinking, my phone can do that. Why should I do this? But
Yeah. I
anyway,
mean,
so
what's
that's
so? I've been waiting
yeah.
forever for
This
my
is a cool demo. Don't
assistant
get
to
me.
do it.
It's
Yeah.
OS AI agent running on a access card is pretty cool, but I'm not sure I'm interested. Anyway, so that's what. Okay, this was good. This was really, really good. We're getting to the point where they're calling it web. Microsoft has a good way to name
Hmm.
things. Web IQ. This is essentially a search engine for your AI agents,
Hmm.
sort of collecting real world data and evidence based on what you want to do. There are lots of companies out there doing this right now, right? Sort of making search accessible to agents, but Microsoft is doing it too. OpenClaw is now part of Windows. No surprise there. Because Microsoft, for others, audience, Microsoft is a I say, investor in OpenAI. So OpenAI took over OpenClaw. That sort of by that property, Microsoft also owns OpenClaw. Foundry, GitHub Copilot for agentic development. I know you use a lot of GitHub Copilot. I don't. What is happening there is I thought GitHub Copilot already have agents. What's new here?
Uh,
Is anything new
I
happen?
think see, when I say I'm a user of GitHub Copilot, I'm a
Yeah.
user of GitHub Copilot, the subsidized models. That's what I was using, right?
Okay. 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 Okay.
So I wasn't using Copilot, so to speak, because see, Copilot has a couple of things which is going for it. One, on the cloud, you can
Hmm.
pull requests and like addressing issues and stuff like that, and whatever happens on the cloud, that's one part of it. The other one is Copilot running on your local machine. Again, you have Copilot CLI or Copilot as part of your VS Code as an
Yeah.
extension and stuff
Yeah.
like that. So all of that is another ecosystem. Now, what changed there? I'm not too sure. I have not used that agentic part of it because I've always been largely a user of Codex CLI, Cloud
Okay.
Code, or Open Code. What
Okay.
I did use is the GPT, GitHub Copilot models, and there, for me personally, the prices went up. That's that's the big difference. So I'm
All
not
right.
so sure what happened in the agentic world here.
Okay. Okay. And I mean, all the literature that I read here sounds like I thought Copilot already was doing it. I don't know
Already
what's
did that,
something.
right? Yeah, that's what
Yeah,
even I
yeah.
thought.
What are you talking about here? Anyway, so we'll move on. Microsoft Scout, they're building sort of a wrapper built on top of OpenClaw. Everybody is doing
Hmm?
this. All of us going to have a personal AI agent doing our stuff. This I thought was interesting. So Microsoft coming up with their own AI models. This is not GPT; they're calling it MAI. Looking at the description here, I was not very impressed. I feel like they're just starting this process. That other companies are at least 12 months or 18 months ahead than what Microsoft is doing. Which begs the question why they have started to do this in first place. I thought they are well married with GPT. Maybe something is happening in that relationship, but Microsoft has decided to build their own models. Now, this is interesting for, I think, for Copilot. I think when you use, I could be wrong here. If anyone knows this better, please correct us. I feel like when enterprise users uses Microsoft Copilot, I think Copilot internally decide which model to use based on the work. So it might be a good strategy for them to not sending all the traffic to GPT and having some traffic sent to their own model for maybe better efficiency, better results, learning, what have you. And I think that
Hmm.
provides Microsoft flexibility. That's sort of it. They're creating another. Everybody's building quantum chip. So Microsoft is planning to build their own. So that's sort of the wrap of what they had from Microsoft build. All about AI agents, man. They're all going to replace
That's
us,
interesting.
Harry.
Yeah. The
All
part
right.
that I'm
So
not too sure about is all of this agent stack wars, like I think you appropriately named the
yeah,
episode.
yeah, yeah.
Uh, there seems to be a lot of attention towards how much I can do in parallel and all of that, right?
Yes,
Uh,
yes.
well, that might be the case, but I think the bigger question for us right now is how much can I even do at all, right? Because once the subsidies are coming down and
Yeah,
with the cost going up for each of these things,
yeah.
like we are well past that point where we are arguing that, oh, will I use agent-centric
Yeah.
workflows or not? I
Hmm.
think
Hmm.
there are a
We're
handful
past
of
that.
companies which
Yeah.
disallow like AI and stuff for development, but I think for a
Right.
lot of us, this has become commonplace and a
Right.
daily staple. So
Right.
yeah, so we gotta wait and see how this this whole thing
Yeah.
pans out.
Yeah. That brings up to another interesting point that I know you want to talk about is the more and more we offload work to agents. I mean, it's not free. And I think one of the biggest struggle is agents spawning sub agents. You necessarily don't have control over the cost or token usage. That's sort of hitting it, right? I mean, we talked about this, how quickly we went from token maxing to token discipline. You want to share your thoughts on that? What's happening there?
Yeah, I think for a large part, like earlier part of this year and maybe and towards the end of last year, there was this kind of weirdly poor way of proximetric for like, whether someone's using AI or not, right? Like, how many tokens did you burn this month? That was the popular joke that was going around. But
Right. A
I
leaderboard.
mean,
Who is using how many tokens, right? Yeah.
yeah, but then
Yeah.
like I think sense prevailed and most people realized this is not going to last forever because obviously we were running on subsidies. But I don't think even like any many of us anticipated that it would be as early as like middle of this year, right? That we already start seeing the prices go up and whatnot. And either we are seeing like poor performance from models, or we're seeing like increased cost for the same kind of work that we used to do earlier. And like, yeah, I think I mirror your experience in terms of how I've been quite having a difficult experience with Anthropic models, and I've had to constantly switch between Codex and this. And I'm a user of open code, so I also use a lot of the Eastern models and whatnot. So right now, like anyone who's at least again in my circle, a limited circle of people who are using things, models and stuff, like we have had to do like split our usage across various models so that we can make it last for the month, technically speaking. Again, it's not a
Mhm.
big deal of money, right? But you can see where it's going. Like if the
Yeah.
more and more we use this, like we're going to be paying like almost not a grad salary, but probably a junior engineer salary, right? And
Right.
at that point, we really need to know where the money is going and how much we're spending towards it. So it's
Yeah.
not going to be always possible to remain on frontier models. We
Yeah.
also have to see how we can supplant some of the less difficult work to like other models, and how do you plan your budget
So,
for
so
your
do,
tokens?
so do you? I mean, how do you do that? I mean, I don't do that. I want to get to the point where I have to start figuring that out. Like, do you have a strategy how you decide how? I'm assuming you use some sort of this open router type thing, right, to route traffic. So how do you decide which one to send to which model?
See, I think the first of all, like, the most basic approach is like, do you need a reasoning model to do a task heavy work and stuff like
Mhm.
that, right? So you could
Mhm.
separate the two. And reasoning
Mhm.
models often happen to be the more expensive ones. So I probably only use a reasoning model to put together the context, right? Which means like coming up with a long task list of things which needs to be done by an agent. Now, once I
Like
have the
planning.
task list, having a reasoning model go and work on it is actually
Mhm.
counterintuitive because
Mm.
reasoning models tend to unnecessarily burn cycles on like trying to
Yeah.
figure out like whether what's the best way, is there something else going
Right.
wrong. At that
Right.
point, I probably want something which is more execution heavy, right? Like, just
Right.
even if it doesn't have a very big context window, really doesn't matter because I'm
Right.
probably orchestrating it with a top level model, which
Right.
is
Right.
forking off subagents for like, let's say a haiku. Like, let's
Right.
even forget about open source models, right? Even if you're using
Right.
Claude,
Right.
pretty much can use haiku for like stupid things like ls and ls minus
Right.
l, do me a find and come back to me. So like anything which you can spawn off to a subagent would be like the lower models, and the orchestration will be on a mid-level model, and the reasoning would obviously be on the most frontier model. So that way
Yeah.
you have like a 30-30 for 40 split in terms of what you
Yeah.
use even within one single ecosystem. That's the rationale at least I am going by. But I'm no way like, the the token budget master, so to speak, right? I'm more of
Yeah.
a context engineer who's trying to extract the most performance,
Yeah.
but being conscious of the cost at which I'm
Yeah.
doing it.
Yeah. 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 I mean, I think this is obviously new frontier. I mean, we have to figure it out. This we none of us are experienced in this. but I think this trend is real. I mean, I think this also goes to, I saw a recent post from Sam Altman about this, is that this is going to be a real concern for model providers because it's not just a money printing machine now, right? People, companies are really getting concerned about how much budget that we're going to spend on these models.
The
So, I mean,
predictability is the big question mark, at least in to
yeah,
people who I speak with. Like they're okay spending the money, right? But
yeah,
it's like suddenly you budget something and then you realize that within 15 days of the month you already like burnt through it.
yeah,
And this is not to blame the provider, right? It's
yeah,
just the fact that as users, we also have started becoming more aggressive users of AI.
right.
And use spawns use.
Cloud,
It's almost like a feeding
Cloud
frenzy.
code is like code on crack, man. We are addicted to that
Yeah.
now. I think devs
Yeah, and
are.
I think it is not an understatement to say that the more you use it, the more you are likely to further get hooked onto it,
Yeah,
and your usage becomes heavier and heavier and heavier. And at
right.
that point, I think the difficulty is not in making a prediction because there is no data to say this is how much I use on average on a monthly
Yeah,
basis for a senior engineer, for a junior
right,
engineer, stuff
right,
like that. Like everyone's learning. So.
right. I think I'm saying, I mean, obviously, yeah. I mean, this is not, it's happening all across everywhere, right? Like in Uber and other companies. I'm looking at those here, Coinbase. They are also doing same strategy, like you mentioned. Like 80% of the traffic workloads going to the model, which are cheaper. Is that figuring out the right balance to figure out which what percent is probably a little bit of art, but I'm pretty sure over the years we're going to build sort of sense around this and we'll be good at
Yeah, I
this.
mean the way I think about it personally is like if I have a team of senior engineers and junior engineers,
Yeah.
I know which work to give to which one, right? Like it's just a
Mm,
distribution way of
mm-hmm,
thinking about it. I'm not looking
mm-hmm.
at, I mean, personally, it's probably just my illiteracy in being able to read the benchmarks properly, but
Yeah.
the benchmarks and the real work that I get done out of it have never matched at
Never
all.
matched.
Uh,
Never matched. I don't believe in benchmarks at all. Those are
So
games.
all I do is just a simple analogy. Like I
Yeah.
give a personality to a model. Is it more like
Yeah.
Neil? Is it more like
Yeah.
Hari? Or is it more like a
Yeah.
grad that I know? So
Yeah.
then I know what work I give to whom and
Yeah.
yeah, something like that.
Yeah. I think we get. I mean, this. We have a story for that, but I will not cover this. I don't think we'll have enough time there. I think I wanted to tie this to a little bit of what's happening with the layoffs in the market, right? Obviously, lots of layoffs happening. Everybody's developers, 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 and I think the reality of this is that I mean, the billions and millions of dollars of subscription fees that we're paying to Anthropic and OpenAI, that money has to come from somewhere. And I think it's okay. I think we are all new and we're trying to figure it out, but we have to slowly get to the point where we figure out that we are not measuring output anymore. We need to measure outcomes, right? It's great that you're using Claude Code to generate a bunch of code. I mean, that needs to translate to some sort of business objective. Is it making you more money? Is it is it a new product, new thing? Is making you more efficient? What is the ROI of this? Uh, I think we have to figure that out. I mean, it's great that Claude is generating hundreds of lines of code, but is it real value? Is I think lots of companies are not getting there, and they're just spending tons of money and figuring out how to cut costs, and that's where some of the layoffs are. One of the
No,
reasons
no,
for layoffs.
cost of morale is something that's probably being uh, not not really looked at properly. Like for example, I think the bigger problem is we know that a lot of stuff can be done by AI, right? And I
Yeah,
know like the trajectory is this. Obviously, there'll be like initially the layoffs are inevitable. I think like what you said, it's happening and we cannot do anything about it. But then eventually there'll be that dip, and as people become more acclimatized to using AI, and then there is still more work to be done. And again, you have to scale back up. That's
yeah,
going to happen in
yeah,
due course. But
yeah,
in that trough of people being laid off and stuff like that, the entire ecosystem goes through a morale loss, and that's the
yeah,
bigger difficulty right now. Because yeah, on one side it's all exciting to try all
yeah,
this agentic stuff out, but it's
yeah,
also very painful to see
yeah,
the general morale and mood. suffering at this point,
Yeah.
like because of
I mean,
all the colleagues and
you,
the stuff.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I feel like this. I wrote about this on LinkedIn too. I feel like if you as a company, and I know it's easier to say than done. I totally understand. We both building company. I understand the struggles of the market. But if your AI strategy is only optimization, you're not going to be around. I mean, I think what we should be thinking about this AI is sort of a new opportunity. What new things we could do. So I don't think we have gone there. That's what Hari is talking about. When we reach there, company is going to be back on hiring speed again because they need more people to do this. And my only concern is that this AI agents is making us dumber. We talked about this a lot, right? I mean, I think new developers are not learning, and there were lots of research paper. That was one of the topic, but we'll not have time to do this. Maybe I will do a LinkedIn post, or we'll do a LinkedIn post. So this comprehension debt that we talked about, I'm facing this, man, knowing to code. I'm doing this for years. I realized because I was getting to the point where I was not reviewing code. I'm being very honest. I'm just admitting here. I'm getting to the point I don't look at the code anymore. But in spite all the guidance, all the spec, my code, I'm getting to the point is unmanageable. I need to go back and refactor. I'll be honest with you. There are like 3 implementation of same thing.
Yep.
So, I mean, this cannot, I mean, I think the idea of
It's not
using AI and
sustainable.
replace, it's not. It's not. It's gonna, I think we're building these towers and the base is not clear. All of this gonna crash.
I think it's more like this, right? You have a fast car. You do need the crew to maintain it. It's not just it takes a team to run an F1 car, right? That's like a
Yeah.
loose analogy for me.
Hmm.
It just feels like, okay, I have the car, I just need to push the button and get on my way. That's not necessarily it. When you're moving at that speed, you need the support core to help you not falter and just,
Yeah.
crash and burn.
Yeah. Yeah.
And right now, I think we're like all drunk on, how do you say, the output that you're seeing rather
Oh
than
yeah.
the
We
outcome,
are
like what you
addicted.
said.
We are addicted. I mean, we, I mean, I'm hearing from other leaders too in the company that people are asking for, I need more cloud code. I need more tokens. I'm maxing out. I need more subscriptions. I mean, you just cannot feed into this machine. And this models are this is product hook. You and I talked about this, right? This models will never give up. It will always say, "Oh, here's one more change I can do." Its objective is to keep you on it for.
It's a
Oh,
slot machine.
but
So
yeah, yeah, yeah.
just
But
one more pull and you.
Claude this just got into the point where it's saying it's getting late. Maybe you should stop here. Have you heard those? Yeah, yeah, it's getting stopped here. I'll be honest with you. I don't think I think getting way complicated. Let's start a new conversation, which is always funny. Anyway, I think we should wrap here. Thanks
Yep.
again. Wonderful. We'll do the next episode again.
Yep. Thanks for having
All
me,
right.
Neil. Thanks,
All right. All
everyone. Bye
right.
bye.
Thanks, Harry.